Hey everyone, this is Paul from Optics Ready, and today I'm going to attempt to do the impossible, which is to clearly explain the difference between every single Glock MOS pistol. So wish me luck. First of all, I do just want to mention that all these guns are unloaded. Magazines are totally empty. Chambers are totally empty. Okay, so if you're watching this video, basically you are interested in getting some kind of Glock MOS model and you're not sure which one to get. You might not even know what MOS stands for, but in this video we're going to explain each MOS Glock that exists at the time of shooting this video, which is October 29th, 2024. So let's get right into it. And I do just want to mention that our sponsor of this video, the one that provided all these pistols, is opticsready.com, where they have a bunch of Optics Ready stuff on there. So check them out, give them a visit. It's a really cool website. They got a lot of awesome stuff. So thank you for providing these pistols for us for this video, opticsready.com. All right, so we all know that Glock is very confusing because all of their pistols look exactly the same, and basically some of the models are confusing just from their naming conventions. For example, a Glock 45, you would think that it's a 45 caliber Glock, but it's actually not. So what we're gonna attempt to do to help make it easier for you to decide which ones you like is I'm gonna try to just break it down as simply as I can and be just a good teacher here to make something that's complex relatively simple. Optics Ready has a cheat sheet for all of these so that you could easily understand what I'm talking about in the video. So if you just Google Optics Ready Glock cheat sheet, you're gonna find an easy to read page that's gonna explain the differences between all these and make it really easy for you to understand. It pairs perfectly with this video. So first, let's just start with the MOS system. What is the MOS system? It stands for Modular Optic System. It's basically Glock's way of putting red dots on their pistols. So you take this cover plate off, they cut the slide, and they give you adapter plates that you could put on this slide, and then that lets you put different red dots on here. Now, pistol red dots have different footprints. There's like an RMR footprint, Delta Point Pro footprint, etc., etc. Glock makes different plates depending on which optic you want to put on there. For this purpose, the most popular footprint is going to be the RMR footprint. Glock gives you a plate for that. If you have a Glock 43X, that's an RMSC footprint. So there are optics that fit those, which are smaller optics. But we're not going to get into the optics. We're just going to talk about how to understand how Glock comes out with their pistols and their lineup. And now, just so you know, as of shooting this video, Glock has the largest variety of Optics Ready pistols in the 9mm caliber. They have some in 10mm, some in 40 Smith & Wesson, and some in 45 ACP, but 9mm has the majority of the Optics Ready pistols. I'm also not getting into like Gen 5, Gen 4, stuff like that. I'm literally only covering anything that's Optics Ready that they make right now. All right, so in order to start this off, I want to have you guys understand just, I guess, the manufacturing process, right? So Glock makes a lot of similar parts, but they're all kind of slightly different. So for the sake of this video, we're going to talk about slide/barrel length, and we're going to talk about grip length, and we're going to basically talk about the frame, and we're also going to talk about the width, okay? So the main reason there are so many different versions of Glocks is because they have many different versions with different grip lengths. Then they have different versions with different slide lengths. They have a couple versions with different width lengths. And then they have different calibers. So then that's why there's so many variants. When you multiply all those things together, different combination of caliber, barrel length, grip length, then that's how you have so many different guns. And their naming convention, honestly, I'm sure somebody knows how they come up with it. I don't. I'm not going to pretend like I do, but the naming conventions don't help. First of all, I don't have every model in front of me, so I'm going to use some pictures. But now, what you need to know is that there are guns that are called a full-size pistol, which has a full-length grip. Okay, that means it carries 17 rounds. Then there are compact pistols, which have 15 rounds. Okay, so they're like a full size, but they have 15 round capacity instead of 17 round capacity, so the grip is shorter. The barrel is also shorter as well. Then they have subcompact models, which has an even shorter grip than the compact, but still like a double stack magazine. And then they have their Slimline models, which are very thin and then have magazines that are 10 rounds. Although they do make 15 round mags. An aftermarket company called Shield Arms makes 15 round mags for something like the Glock 43X. So that's the simplest way to describe it, just so you know. There's full size, compact, subcompact, and then micro compact, which I'm gonna say the micro compact is the Slimline. Also, if I miss something, you know, feel free to add it to the comments. If I miss a specific model, I shouldn't, but there's a lot of different models floating around at different distributors, so it could be possible. Okay, so the best way I could just describe Glock is that they have a standard size, full-size pistol like a Glock 17, then they have a compact like a Glock 19, then they have a subcompact like a Glock 26, then they have the micro compact like the Glock 43X. Now, each one of those has different variations. There's longer slide versions for the 17, then there's versions where they combine the Glock 17 slide for essentially with a Glock 19 grip, or they combine a Glock 19 slide with a Glock 17 grip, and the grip and the slides are still unique, so you can't just go interchange them like that, but I'm just using that for reference so that's easier to understand. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the Glock 17. The Glock 17 is the most old school Glock, full size, 17 round capacity, and basically it has the 4.5-inch barrel and it has that 17 round capacity. So the Glock 17 is the, let's say, first and most recognizable Glock model. It's a full-size pistol. So the Glock 17, easy enough to understand. That's a 9mm. Now Glock makes other M.O.S versions that are that same exact size, and they make it in 40 Smith & Wesson, 10mm, and 45 ACP right now. So the equivalent of a Glock 17 in 40 Smith & Wesson is a Glock 22. The equivalent of a Glock 17 in 10mm is the G20. The equivalent of the Glock 17 in 45 caliber is a G21. So each one of those guns is a full-size Glock with 17 round, well, not 17, but with the larger magazine capacity and with the 4.5-inch barrel, give or take. Now the higher caliber models, they don't all have 17 round capacity because their bullets are larger, but the magazine size dimensionally is the same. All right, so we got that out of the way. Now, Glock makes something called the 17L. All right, the 17L is the long slide. This is a super long slide on this gun. So all this is same kind of Glock 17 grip, but a much longer slide, which gives you a larger sight radius. I mean, this gun is pretty silly to hold, but it's actually really cool. So the Glock 17L has that 17 round magazine, and it has a 6-inch barrel. And if I say slide, I mean barrel sometimes. So it's got a 6-inch barrel. Now in the M.O.S versions, Glock does make another version of the long slide in a 10mm, and that is the Glock 40. So the Glock 40 is the long slide Glock in 10mm, and with that, you know, larger magazine. So now if things weren't confusing enough, Glock also makes a model called the Compeition. Okay, so there's a Compeition model which is slightly shorter than the Glock long slide, but still longer than a standard Glock 17. So the barrel on the Compeition is 5.34 inches long. So now Glock makes these Compeition models in 3 different calibers with the M.O.S. So the Compeition model in 9mm is called the G34. That has that 5.3 1-inch slide with 17 round mag capacity. with a, full-size grip. So then they have that model available in 40 Smith & Wesson, and that is a Glock 35, a G35. But that's actually for LEO only, so maybe you could get your hands on those if you're a police officer or if you have a way to get them. Now there is another competition model, and that's called the G41, and it's the same exact thing, but it's in 45 ACP. So long grip, and then that slightly longer slide. Okay, so far we've covered the full size, the long slide versions, and the competition versions, which are in between the full size barrel length and the long slide barrel length. And just so you know, I'm gonna save the trickiest ones for last. Now we're gonna talk about the Glock 19. The Glock 19 has a shorter grip and a shorter barrel / slide. It has been one of the most popular pistols because it's good for kind of everyday carry and still is very similar to a full size, just has a little bit less capacity and a little shorter slide. And now the other thing I wanna mention is that a Glock 19 or a Glock that has a shorter grip can still fit the magazine of the larger grip. So here I have a Glock 17 mag in a Glock 19. So that works. And that works even for the super subcompact ones like the Glock 26. It just won't work for things like a Glock 43X, but we'll get into that later. But the opposite isn't true. You can't put a Glock 19 magazine in a Glock 17 because it's too short. So here's a Glock 19 mag, here's a Glock 17 mag. You could see there is a size difference. And this is the mag catch. So basically the longer grip magazines will fit in the shorter grip Glocks, but the longer grip magazines won't fit in the longer grip. It's common sense, really. All right, so as for the Glock 19 in 9mm, has 15 round capacity. It has the, compact grip and more compact slide. It has a 4-inch barrel. So now the Glock 19, you're gonna wanna remember this because this is where all their variants come from that are really confusing. But the Glock 19, Glock 17 are the most popular right now, so remember them. And then the Glock 19 basically comes in a different caliber. It comes in a 40 Smith & Wesson on the Optics Ready M.O.S model, and that's called a G23. So G23 is basically a Glock 19, but in 40 Smith & Wesson. And then to round this one out, there's the G26, which is a subcompact. It has a shorter grip than the Glock 19, and it has a shorter barrel length. That's 3.4 inches, and that is in 9mm only. And they do make other subcompact guns like that, but as of this time, the only optics ready version is the Glock 26. They make them in different calibers, but they don't make the different calibers optics ready as of when we're shooting the video right now. Okay, so now we're gonna cover the Slimline version, which is the Glock 43X. Now the Glock 43X is kind of a new undertaking in a way because it's slim, okay? So Glock likes to refer to it as slim, and it is. It's slimmer than the Glock 19 or anything else. It's less wide, and it's smaller overall. So it's what I call a micro compact because it's made for concealed carry. Now the Glock 43X, again, is gonna be an important one to remember because Glock plays their slide length games with the Glock 43X too. So currently the Glock 43X has a 10 round mag. It's a single stack. So just so you know, if you're not familiar, these mags on the Glock 19, Glock 17 are double stacks. Their bullets go kind of side by side. On a Glock 43X, they just go on top of each other. A single stack versus a double stack. Now, market has demanded some larger capacity magazines for Glock 43X, so Shield Arms does make a 15 round magazine that you could put in a Glock 43X, just in case you wanted to know. They are available at opticsready.com also. Okay, so back to the Glock 43X. The main difference between the Glock 43X that confuses people about the other optics ready Glocks is it has a totally different optics mounting system. So the Glock 43X does not use that multiple adapter plate system as the double stack Glocks use. The Glock 43X has an RMSC footprint machined into the slide. So that means you can only put RMSC footprint optics on here, or you can put something like a Holosun K series if you get a adapter plate, which allows you to put that on there. So that's very important to know because some people get confused. They make optics like Holosun SCS M.O.S, which fits on the Glock M.O.S system, but it doesn't fit on the Glock 43X M.O.S system because this one is different because it's the Slimline. So remember that. All right, so Glock 43X has, a compact grip. It has a 3.4-inch barrel, and it has that 10-round mag, which, like I said, can be upgraded with shield arms. But that is part of their Slimline. Now, there is another version called the Glock 48 MOS. Now, the Glock 48 MOS is exactly like the Glock 43X, except it has a longer barrel. So the Glock 48 MOS is a 4.17-inch barrel versus the Glock 43X, which is a 3.41. Everything else is the same. The grip is the same. The magazine is the same. It's just a longer barrel on the Glock 48. The Glock 43X and the Glock 48, that Slimline version, the only calibers available in that are the 9mm for right now, which are optics ready. There is a 380 called the Glock 42, which I have myself, but it's not optics ready. Okay, so now we are going to get into the kind of confusing area, which is these hybrids between a Glock 17 and a Glock 19. Okay, so I do just want to mention, I talked to a close friend of mine that is like a Glock expert, and all these newer hybrid models that Glock has come out with for, let's say, the 47, the 45, 49, they now all have the same recoil spring. So the full-size slide now uses the same recoil spring as the compact slide, like the Glock 19. And so now this means that if you have a full-size frame or a compact frame, you could interchange the slides. So you could have the full-size slide on a compact frame, or you could have a compact slide on a full-size frame. So apparently this was what Customs and Border Patrol wanted, and now the civilian market is following. So moving forward, it seems like Glock may be using these newer pistols as part of their main lineup, which would essentially eliminate something like, let's say, a Glock 17 MOS from the lineup, because that'll just be replaced with the Glock 47. So I just wanted to mention that, and it's almost like Glock is going through a little bit of a transition period, and that's to essentially make their guns more modular so that you can swap frames and slides much easier than you were able to do before. Okay, so now we are going to cover some of the newer models, which are very specialized kind of, but are interesting, and essentially they're all going to be around a Glock 19 and basically a Glock 17 grip. So these next couple models we talk about, they're all going to be in 9mm, and they are basically going to be versions that have a 17 round full-size grip and a short barrel, or the 17 full-size barrel with the Glock 19 grip. Okay, so the next one we're going to cover is the Glock 45 or G45. Essentially what this is a Glock 17 grip but a Glock 19 slide. So the barrel length is 4 inches long, but it has that full-size grip like the Glock 17. So it gives you that 17 round capacity, which people want. So, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because you can say, oh, well, you can just put a Glock 17 mag in a Glock 19 and you have the same exact thing. And yeah, you can. But I guess some people prefer the longer grip of the Glock 17, and they just wanted the shorter barrel of the Glock 19. So that's what the Glock 45 is. That's why it exists. Now there is another pistol floating around that's an exclusive with certain distributors, but basically what that version is actually the reverse of the Glock 45. So it's actually a Glock 17 slide on a Glock 19 frame, and that's called the Glock 49. So the Glock 49 has basically a 4.5-inch barrel, but this more compact grip of the Glock 19. All right, now the last one we're gonna cover is the Glock 47. So the Glock 47 is essentially a Glock 17 slide on a Glock 45 frame. So, all right, this is gonna sound, this one is very confusing even for me as I read it. So the Glock 47 essentially has a Glock 19 frame, okay, where the frame is this plastic part, it ends right there, all right? On a Glock 17, the frame is a little longer than the Glock 19 on the bottom, all right? But now the Glock 47, what that has is this front part of the frame is this length, all right? But then the grip is the same as a full size. So it's a 17 round grip. But then the slide is the same length as a Glock 17. So it's 4.5 inches. It's actually kind of crazy because it's almost exactly like a Glock 17, except they just made this front part a little bit shorter. So there are some other details as well, but I guess the reason they did that is because further interchangeability. If you buy the Glock 47, I believe you could put a Glock 9 or a Glock 19 slide on there if you wanted. So it's kind of like a full size with the full size barrel, so almost exactly the same as the 17, but with the option to put a shorter barrel and slide like a Glock 19 on there. So that one is by far, I think, one of the most confusing ones, but hopefully you can understand it after watching this video a bunch of times. So there you have it. That's it. Those are all the Glock MOS models, the optics ready models that exist as of October 29th, 2024. Optics Ready has a cheat sheet for all of these so that you could easily understand what I'm talking about in the video. So if you just Google Optics Ready Glock cheat sheet, you're gonna find an easy to read page that's gonna explain the differences between all these and make it really easy for you to understand. It pairs perfectly with this video. Okay, let me just run through a quick summary. So we have full-size versions, compact versions, subcompact versions, micro-compact versions, / slimline versions. We have long slide versions, competition versions, and then we have what I call hybrids. And then there's different calibers. So the full-size ones that have the 4.5-inch barrel and the 17 round or that grip length are going to be the G17, G22, G20, G21. G17 is in 9mm, G22 is in 40 Smith & Wesson, G20 is in 10mm, G21 is in 45 ACP. Now, we have the long slide versions, which have the full length grip, but a very long slide at 6 inches. Those are going to be the G17L, which is in 9mm, and the G40, which is in 10mm. Next, we have the competition models, which have the 5.31-inch barrel and are basically the in-between of the full size and the long slide. So in there, we have a G34, which is 9mm, a G35, which is 40 Smith & Wesson, a G41, which is 45 ACP. Then we're going to get into the compact models, which are the 4-inch barrel with the more compact grip that holds around 15 rounds of 9mm. And so that's the next step down from the full size. So there we have a G19, which is 9mm, and then we have a G23, which is 40 Smith & Wesson. Then we're going to get into the subcompact, which is basically the double stack, but with the shortest grip, the grip that holds 10 rounds in a double stack fashion. And there we are going to have the G26, which is in 9mm, and it has a 3.4-inch barrel. Then we are going to get into the Slimline, which is the more narrow pistol and what I would call that micro compact. So there we have the Glock 43X in 9mm, which is the 3.4-inch barrel. And then we have the Glock 48, which is a little bit longer barrel at 4.17 inches. And those are both the Slimline models that are offered. Lastly, we covered the hybrid models, which are a combination of a Glock 19 or a Glock 17, and they're all in 9mm. And we have the G45, which is basically a Glock 17 grip with a Glock 19 slide/barrel. So 4-inch barrel, 17 round mag capacity. Then we have the Glock 49, which is a Glock 17 slide on a Glock 19 frame. So the longer barrel length of 4.49 inches on a more compact frame of, that one that holds the 15 round capacity. And then the last hybrid is the G47, which is essentially a Glock 17 frame with a slightly shorter front and a Glock 17 slide. That's the one that basically could let you interchange between that longer barrel of 4.49 inches and a Glock 19 barrel. So that one is, in my opinion, the most confusing. And it's made specifically, this is called the dust cover here. So the main difference is the slide has a little bit of a dust cover there to bridge this gap that you'll find between the frame and the slide. And that's really the main purpose for that. And remember, we're talking only about the M.O.S models that exist today. So yeah, I really appreciate you watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. I hope I educated you and helped you learn something. And if I did mess something up, please let me know. Or if you know something that I don't, please let me know. But I'd love to hear kind of like which version you got and why. So leave a comment below of which one you like the best and why. And yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Glock is they just focus on making the same exact thing, just in little different ways. And some of these some of these are created for like government contracts and stuff, and then they get released to kind of the civilian market. But anyway, please check out our sponsor, opticsready.com. They provided these for us, and they have a lot of awesome stuff on their website. But I really appreciate you watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing. Give us a thumbs up. That really helps us. And yeah, hope you have a fantastic day. Remember to always safely use your firearms, no matter where you are, no matter if they're unloaded or loaded. And yeah, have a good one. Stay awesome. Be good.